What is up, guys? Fahir here, and I'm too lazy to get on the camera, but you don't even care seeing my face, do you? Just want to see the game that we're going to create. So it's a simple game where we have two cars. One is running away, the other is chasing, okay? The blue one runs away, I almost said the yellow one. The reddish one is chasing me. Now, when it catches me, I'm going to die. Bam, there you go. This is it, but you will have a lot of assignments, and I might even give prizes to people who finish those assignments. So if you finish them, post them in my Facebook group, basically post them here in the comment, and I will, give you my email. You can get back to me and stuff like that, and I will check it out and all of that stuff. So that will be nice, and as I said, nice prizes might be given if you do it. So you will never know. Just do it. Anyways, few lines of code, maybe, I don't know, around 100 is used to create this, but a very 100 sophisticated lines of code, and just follow the tutorial. We'll see. You will have, as I said, assignments. You will learn a lot, and that will be it. I will see you in the, tutorial in the future. Actually, in the present. I will see you. All right. Now that we saw the game that we are going to create, let us create a game. So the first thing, as always, what we do is we import the assets. So you can find the assets. Link to them is down below in the description, awesometools.com, basically. And first, we are going to import all of these models. So simply drag the models folder, wait for it to import and all of that stuff, yada, yada, yada. The next thing is I'm going to import this ground. So I'm going to drag the ground here and simply click here, import. This is a Unity package, by the way, you already know that. And from here, we have the explosion. So I'm simply going to drag that as well and import it. Simple as that, and that is all we need to do. Now you can safely ignore all of these yellow warnings because we just click clear and every single problem we have in our life is now solved. We're done. Let's go. I'm just kidding, and you know that. So here in the layout, I'm going to click here to go into my layout. And from here, I'm going to go into the prefabs and take the ground, and voila. So now this is the ground where we are going to ground ourselves. Next, what I'm going to do is here from the assets in the search bar, I'm going to filter for empty car 02. If I can find it, here it is. So I'm simply going to now click X here. And there you go. So this is the car that I want. Yep. And I'm going to drag it over here inside of the scene. Now, I'm not going to have the car as is like this. So I'm going to create an empty game object, which is going to be my player car. And I'm going to position the player car at all zeros. So simply here, reset, and take the car 2 and place it as a child of the player car, which is this bad boy over here. There you go. Next, I'm going to take here a box collider, so attach it. And for the box collider, I am going to change here the size to be 1.5 on the X, 1.14, so 0.14 on the Y, and 2.48 on the Z. And for the Y, I'm going to say 0.55, and there you go. This is everything we need. Next, we are going to add the rigid body and set the constraints on the freezing X and the Z rotation, because why not? Why shouldn't we freeze the X and the Z rotation? And now we are going to go here in the assets and right click and create a new folder, and this one is going to be my scripts folder. And from here I'm going to right click a C#1. Which else could we have? So from here I'm going to say car controller, and there you go. So I'm going to take the player car and attach the car controller. It's pretty simple. Now I'm going to duplicate it and move this bad boy over here because this one is going to be my enemy car. So here we're going to have the enemy car. Take the player car and tag it with the player tag. So make sure that you do that. And also from the tags over here, I'm going to create an enemy tag. So enemy, and take the enemy car and tag it with the enemy tag. Now what I'm going to do is change the color of our player car. And you can do that on your own. This is nothing complicated. So from here, let me just find. So here we have the albedo for this one. Can I change it? Actually, no. So I cannot change it. We need to create a material. So from here, I'm going to create a new material over here inside of empty car 02. Let me just find it. Car 01, car 02, materials. And I'm going to take this Megatune car 02 and attach it here. Voila, there you go. Now, of course, as you can see, we have a problem. So what I'm going to do here is filter for materials, textures. We want the Megatune Car 02. So select it. And let me just drag it here. Can I drag it? Yes, I can. And I'm going to set here the shader not to standard, but I'm going to go in the legacy shaders and diffuse. Can I diffuse it? Yes, I can. This is like Counter-Strike. We diffuse things. There you go. So now we can safely go inside of the car controller script if Visual Studio is going to open, is it? So is Visual Studio going to open? Apparently not. So Visual Studio has opened over here, but come on. But he has closed, actually didn't. Okay, there you go. So this is, I thought he closed some windows while it opened, but apparently it didn't, okay? So what we are going to do here in the car control, you know me, I tag the class so that I know where the last parenthesis here is and we don't get lost while we are coding. So we are going to have over here a serialized field. This one is going to be a private float speed, which is going to be equal to 25, and rotation speed, which is by default going to be equal to 180. And of course, this is for the car. For the enemy, we can change it. So here next we have the serialized field, private, and this is how we're going to differentiate the two. So private bool, player car, which is going to be equal to false. So the player car initially is false. We are going to check the check mark. So let's go here just so that we don't forget to do that. So for the player car, this needs to be checked. Otherwise, well, we have issues. What else can I say? We are also going to have here serialized field, but for some reason it didn't close the parenthesis. This one's going to be private game object explosion, voila. Private rigid body, this one is going to be my body. Next we are going to have a private float, translation and rotation, and a private game object target. And I'm going to separate the target. I can also separate these two as well. So what do we need over here for this to work? Well, inside of the awake, I'm going to say my awesome sexy body is going to be equal to get component rigid body, voila. Inside of the start, however, we are going to get ourselves a reference to the player. So I'm going to say target is equal to game object find with, not what was that? So find with tag and pass here the player tag. Now, of course, this is not the way to go. I'm just doing it because this is a mini tutorial, but you know better what you need to do here. Don't hard code things. I teach this in the Game Dev Pro, link is down below. Inside of the update, we are first going to check here if we are not the player car, meaning we are the enemy car. So over here, as you can see, if we're not the player car, and over here, we don't have the target. So if we are the enemy car and we don't have the target, we are going to return because we don't want to do anything. Otherwise, if we are the player car, so if the player car is this one, meaning we are the player. So over here, I'm going to say if matf absolute value of the input get axis, and I'm going to get here the vertical axis. So if that value is greater than 0, and notice the absolute. So the absolute or abs over here, it's not the abs that you have that you get from training. No, it's the absolute value. So basically this right here is going to turn the number here into a positive. So even if this goes into the negative, it's going to turn it into a positive. And if that is the case, we are going to say our rotation is equal to input.getAxis horizontal. There you go. And we're going to multiply that with the rotation speed, and we're going to multiply that with time.delta time. And over here, the translation is going to be equal to input.getAxis. This one is going to be vertical. And next, I'm going to simply multiply that with the speed. Else, I'm going to say over here, else if that is not the case, so if the vertical is not greater than 0, I'm going to set these both bad boys to be equal to 0. And the reason for that is, well, just because I did it, okay? Just kidding. If we don't do that, the car will continue to rotate on its own and it will have a weird effect and all of that stuff. And we can basically test it out right now. So I can go here. and I can, well, clear everything. And for the player car, make sure we have the player tag. That is okay. It's checked here to be the player. And let's go here now and hit the play button. And can we move the player car? For some reason, we cannot move the player car. Oh, yeah, silly me. Silly me. How can we move it? Because we're just getting here the input. We still need to go here in the fixed update, not fixed join, so fixed update. And next over here, I'm going to say if the player car. So now we are going to move the player car. We're going to say my body velocity is going to be equal to transform forward, which means we are going to move it in the forward direction, and then we are going to multiply that with the translation, and not transfol, whatever I wanted to type over here. So it's translation, and I'm also going to say transform dot rotate and use the vector 3 up. And from there, I'm going to say multiplied with the rotation. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm moving it using the velocity, pushing it forward. And notice it's in the fixed update. So I'm getting the input in the update and moving the car in the fixed update. So now it will work and we will be able to move the car. Of course, the camera is weird. Look at that. So, and we push the enemy car, which is, well, nice. Crazy car. Look at that. So we can continue with the player car, or actually the player controller. But what I'm going to do here is go and create a new camera follow, because as you can see, it looks weird. So we want to test it nicely and see what's going on. So I'm going to take the camera follow. It's a quick script, nothing too much over here. Simply what we are going to do is we're going to say private game object. This one is going to be the target, which is going to be the player. Next over here, we're going to have a private vector 3, which is going to be offset. And here in the awake, we're going to say target is equal to game object find with tag and getting the player tag. Again, don't use hard coding. I'm just doing it because this is a short tutorial. Don't use hard coding, okay? Use the, single script containing all the strings, and same as what I teach in Game Dev Pro. Over here, we're going to say start, and inside of start, I'm going to say target. So if we do have the target, next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say offset is going to be equal to transform position minus the target dot transform position. And over here in the late update, now notice, and I teach this a lot. If you have the camera follow script and you want the camera to follow a certain game object, be that the enemy, be that the player, doesn't matter. Make sure that you put the code that will follow the object in the late update. So over here, what I'm going to do is if target, so if we do have the target, our transform dot position of the camera is going to be equal to target dot transform position plus the offset. So offset, there you go. And voila, this is for the camera. Of course, I am going to go back over here. And did I just open? Yeah, I just opened my recordings. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You don't care. Let's continue with that. Let's pretend this didn't happen, okay? So over here, I'm going to say 42 for the X, 40 on the Y, and minus 43 on the Z. For the rotation, X is going to be 32 and minus 44 rotation on the Y. And this is what we have. Of course, I'm going to change and I said, of course, like you can, see it coming. It's obvious that's gonna happen, And over here, I'm going to change the projection from perspective to orthographic, but also set the size to 12. And there you go. So now we have a nice camera like we saw in the preview. And what I'm going to do now is hit the play button and move the, blue car around. And there you go. So voila, we have everything that's working. Well, actually we don't, because, this bad boy over here needs to follow the enemy car, which I'm going to move way over here so that it doesn't kill us right away, And what I'm going to do now is go back in the script, specifically in the car controller. So over here, we're testing if we have the player car. Now, next, what's gonna happen here, I'm going to say else if we don't have the player car, meaning we have the enemy car. So I'm going to say here vector 3 is, or call it target direction, which is going to be equal to transform. So it's transform that position. There you go. Minus the target transform position. Next, I'm going to say target direction normalize. Not normalized, it's normalized. I'm going to call the function. This is basically going to, let me see if we have explanation. No, we don't. But anyways, it is going to set the size of the vector to 1, but it's going to keep its direction. And I have a blog post that you can take a look at awesometuts.com/blog. I believe it's vectors or something. Just type in the search vectors. And in detail, I explain what is normalized, what are vectors, for what we are going to use them, and all of that stuff. So if you're interested in that, link is, well, down below. And next, I'm going to say rotation is equal to vector3 cross. And we're going to use a cross product of the target direction and the transform forward, but we're only going to use here the y of it. And next over here, now that we have everything, so we have calculated direction, we have calculated the rotation, all of that stuff. Over here, we're going to say else, same as what we did for the player car. So else over here, we're going to say my body dot angular velocity, and that's going to be equal to rotation speed. So rotation speed multiplied with the rotation, and then multiplied with the new vector 3, 0 here, 1 here, and 0 here. There we go. And last but not least, my body velocity is going to be equal to transform that forward, and we're going to multiply that with the speed. Now this right here, this bad boy over here, and what is it doing? So let me just try to move away. There you go. So over here, we're going to use the angular velocity of the rigid body to rotate the enemy car that we have calculated over here. If something's not clear, make sure that you ask in the comments down below. And basically that would be it. So I can go back now inside of the editorial and make sure that the enemy car doesn't have this player car checked. So now if I hit the play button, the enemy car should start following us. Yes, it did, but you know, it's fast. So I'm going to go here, set the speed to 12. There you go. And voila, setting the speed to 12, make sure that the car is, you know, following us, but with less, you know, speed. And the last thing that I'm going to do is go here from the prefabs. So prefab, select the player car and drag here the explosion prefab. There you go. This is our explosion prefab. Everything is set basically. We have the explosion script that you can open here and check it out. So nothing fancy, nothing, you know, nothing too complicated and all of that stuff. So simple explosion script. Now what I'm going to do is go here inside of the on collision enter, and we're going to test if the collision dot game object compare tag, and we're going to compare that with the enemy tag. And if we collide with the enemy, we're going to instantiate the explosion at the transform position using quaternion dot Euler. Voila, there you go. And here for the Euler, I'm going to pass the new vector 3 minus 90 for the x, 0, 0 for the y, so that we can rotate the explosion appropriately, and simply then destroy collision game object, which will destroy the enemy, destroy game object, which will destroy the player. So if I go now inside of the editorial in the editor, and let me just lower the volume so that, you know, we don't scream or something when, you know, we get hit. When the car hits me, bam, look at that. Look at that. Look at that beauty. And let me just see what just happened here. We had a glitch, probably because of the imports. What did happen? So over here, why isn't open prefab? Okay, I need to go in the scene. Yeah, that's it. So, okay, let me just see. Stop, play. Okay, for whatever reason. Anyways, you can fix that. So let's go here. Everything seems fine. Smoke. Everything seems fine. I don't know why we had that glitch. Let's try it out again and see if we have it. There you go. We don't have it now. We had that glitch. If you notice it, I don't know. Anyways, your assignment, and basically this is the end. So quickly we created a really nice game. Now this is, this can go in a game jam. This game can go in a game jam just like that. But don't copy and go in a game jam, okay? This is just on top of my head. And you can build upon this a lot. So you can add, and this is what I recommend you to do. Basically, your assignment, if you can fulfill it, make sure that you add score here, and that you add the restart button, because we don't have a restart button, okay? So over here, if I hit the play button, we're just running away and all of that stuff. We don't have a restart button. When we die, bam, nothing happens. There you go. Add the restart button, add the score, and get back to me. So get back to me. I might even give prizes for those who, innovate and add cool stuff here. So yeah, that will be it. Anyways, Fahir here from awesometuts.com. What else can I say? This is it, the end of the tutorial. I'm sorry to have to go. I would love to stay here in this video forever, but I can't. And I will see you guys in the next video.